Hey everybody, and welcome on back to Minecraft. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different than what we've been doing over the last little while. Today we are going to be talking about how to plan out a castle. We are in a fresh new world here, got our creative flight mode going on here, and I want to show you guys how to take one of these boring castle designs like this and turn it into something super cool. As you can see here, we have one of those pretty much classic Minecraft vanilla castles that you see all over YouTube, all over everywhere where you look for Minecraft castles or whatever. If you just go and throw this into Google, chances are most of what you guys will see tutorial wise is just going to be something like this. I want to show you guys something a little bit further today, something a little bit more in depth in a way that you can go ahead and take this Minecraft castle design and turn it into something really amazing. So getting rid of basically everything here, break down all of the base rules that you've done before, and let's go ahead and do this through good old-fashioned replay mod time-lapse mode. So I will see you guys in that replay and we'll talk about it as we're going through all of it. Alright guys, so to start off this one, we want to go ahead and fill in all these little pools and ponds and things all over this place because you know those Minecraft ones that spawn and they don't look the best. You can turn them into some cool little water areas and make it look and work better for you, but overall I like to just get rid of them. I think it works a lot better if we kind of just say screw it and let them go. Alright, so as a quick heads up, we are going to be using a little bit of world edit here for this, mostly just clearing out the areas, making sure this process goes smoothly and efficiently as we're looking throughout. So we're clearing all of that tall grass on here so it's a little bit easier to place in all of our blocks. Then what we're going to start out here is I always like doing this, just a general guideline for what I think the keep or where the throne room would work. So after that, we're coming out here with a diagonal wall. Diagonal walls are very important. I find that they add so much life and variety to the castles. You can do those regular like star forts and different things like that that you see all over Minecraft, but I find the diagonal wall just makes it look a heck of a lot more natural. As you can see here, we've added in 3 towers already. And this guy right here is kind of leading into, we're using those polished granite blocks there as kind of a border for where maybe like a wall or a gate or something like that would be in there. Well, the walls are obviously the solid lines. There's another gate right there. These two coming at a very strong angle right there as actually something I learned recently is very much defensible. It's very strong for whatever type of place you're living in or trying to protect, because whatever siege engine has to come through there has to make that 90-degree turn to be able to go through that next gate. So you can see us anyways coming down here. We're building up kind of the first section of this area. This is more what I would consider to be the barracks, would be more outside of the castle walls, or not outside of the keep area, but still within the castle. So adding in little turrets and towers, and a big thing that I like to do when adding in castles or building castles is lots of height variation. You want to make sure you're getting a lot of different sizes and a lot of different shapes and just a lot of different scale. The scale on this thing can be so massive. Large rooms, small rooms, whatever you want to do. You want a lot of variety in here. So you can see us kind of making this other design right over here, which is just going to be a little box area, something or another, whatever you want to put in there. That could be a mess hall. Then that one down on the far edge there that we previously built up, those could be areas for guards to live in here. And I love this idea right here. You'll see us put in this little stone line right there and leave 3 blocks wide there in the center. I figured we could go ahead and raise that platform up just to give it a little bit of height variation and make it so there's not too much room for like big siege engines like I was talking about to move around in there. Now we're back up here onto the actual keep area itself, and I wanted to go ahead and throw in another castle tower, and we're going to be revamping this area a lot as we go through. I'm just trying to get a little bit of few designs here, doing a straight wall here, which will actually make our diagonal walls and things like that appear to be a lot more different and add a lot of variety. So if you have everything on angles, it can look pretty cool, but you want to have some hard straight lines in here as well. So that's actually going to be turning into a room there just to give ourselves a little bit of extra space, a little bit more room to work with some things, and adding a little bit of a weird tower shape kind of off the edge here. Again, just breaking it up, adding variety, and I love adding in that height and actually making your corners of your castles not being those hard, just not perpendicular lines, but basically where it comes to a point. If you have it curved, so basically adding towers and round towers and kind of horseshoe shaped things on the edges of all your castle corners and things, it actually, one, it's a lot more defensible looking at it from a medieval standpoint because it'd be easier for things to bounce off if you have, say, like a giant trebuchet blast or something hidden in the castle walls. So you want to be able to have a lot of variety in here and just be able to have a lot of different shape here. Now, speaking of which, I wanted to come in here and add in a full diagonal. Like, this is about as diagonal as you can get for a build. I wanted to go ahead and add this into this guy just to kind of break up that shape of the keep that we were looking at there and just add a little bit of variety. So those guiding lines that we originally made, again, those were just guiding lines. So we're coming back through here, adding a lot of different variation to this guy, making it just appear a lot more alive and a lot better off in the end. And I think it does a really good job kind of making this area just look more unique. So as you can see, we're going around just adding in different shapes and different styles and trying to make it look like what these structures would actually kind of be like in this area, connecting them up. So you want to make sure for your actual castle, the keep itself, I like to make sure that structures are at least connecting on one different wall. So there's actually some way inside to get around from every single building. We want to have some courtyard areas, but you also want to have inside ways of connecting up the different structures. Now, coming up from this front area right there, we're kind of turning this into just getting a little bit more detail as we're going throughout here. Sorry if there's a little noise in the background, trains going by. But yeah, we're adding in another wall right there, making this a lot thicker, turning that into, again, another diagonal building, some housing, something like that. And here we're going to bring in another one, thus defining more of the shape of the courtyard in here, making it just more livable, more things going on. And I love right here, we can go ahead and add in a central tower that could be like a bell tower or some central place to meet, just somewhere for everybody to come together and meet and do all that really cool stuff. And just, again, cutting off our central courtyard area in there, and you could potentially turn that into adding in like a tree or a fountain or something, a statue or something there in the center. And I like the idea of making that diagonal bit right there. I envision that as some sort of like a wood structure popping out, just kind of filling in that area. Adding in, again, just another walkway above, maybe you could have some horse stables underneath, maybe the smithy is in there. You can see that I'm bringing in some wool right here, and I brought in the wool so that we could start going through and adding in just different colors to the types of the rooms, but I figured in this case it'd probably be better just to leave it out, so I actually did remove that guy. But we are adding in some cobblestone here. This is kind of what I envisioned the walkways to be. So this is where people could walk around. Everything else would be an interior. So these guys are all just outside areas where you could have gathering, you could have tents set up, you could have different things. And now we're going to go ahead and actually bring that wool back in that we're going to work with before, and I want to go ahead and kind of plan out a town that would be out in front of this guy. You can see that orange right up there on the outside. We're using orange wool here to make it stand out from the castle itself, and we can go to make this be a little bit more unique so you can really tell which part is which. So the orange is actually going to be like the walls for whatever town is in here. So we want to go ahead and add in a lot of shape right here, and we're going to try and use this whole island. I envision basically out of the front of this, you could have a really cool harbor area. We didn't create that in this video, but you could have a really cool place out there just for everybody to be able to check it out. Lots of boats to come in and kind of a seaside port, making sure we have a big gate there in the front for lots of people to be able to move through. As you can see, we have the dotted lines there. It's kind of what I symbolize as gates when I'm working through it, because I feel like that's a really easy way to tell kind of what's going on in there. You can see a lot of the walls we're doing here. Nothing is ever a direct straight line because one, this makes it look a heck of a lot more natural as you're kind of going throughout, but also all the lines are kind of working at a strict angle. So it's not like these are very fluid and just kind of rolling all over the place. We want to make it still appear strong and bold and having definitive lines in here. They can all be on an angle, but we want to have those strong definitive lines because it is a wall after all. So I wanted to kind of start out this area here by just tracing a basic line using world edit here, something that we could use to get a little bit of stuff throughout here, and adding in a few areas for where it might go off the side. And we're going to come in here with blue and actually plan out what the different areas of this guy's going to look like inside. That being said, we have a lot of variation within the castle itself, as far as I like to have that rule where I mentioned of one building or one wall always touching each other. Inside of the city itself, I want to have a stark contrast to that. So this would be kind of a poorer city, or not a poor city, but like a smaller city. So it's not like that big crazy one we're building in our single player world, but it's something that people can still kind of live in, a lot of life in here. So I want to go ahead and use a lot of angled buildings to kind of better fill in this space here. But I also want to leave a little bit of space in between them because I would love playing with the idea of having little farms in different areas and different types of food sources, and maybe outside areas for like a wash bin or a washing station, maybe little parks for people to gather, just different stuff inside the city that would really be there for the life of the city, instead of really kind of worrying about like cramming in as many houses as we could. I know in medieval cities they typically did that, but I love having, just because I think it looks better, adding in more variation to it. So you can see two houses popping up in there. We have nice little areas in between them and the wall. So theoretically, the wall could be a little bit thicker than it is right now. I figured it'd be about 3 blocks thick in general. And then we have all this space for you to include those little fields and things I was mentioning behind. So maybe you have like an alchemist there at the front and they have their little herb garden out back. Or maybe you have like a smithy, a blacksmith somewhere in here and he has a little workstation out back, or a carpenter, or maybe in here, because everything's so close to the water, we have a lot of people here that are focused on building parts and like woodworking and things like that, so that you can have like a bunch of ships out in the port. So we have all those options in here for just different things to build. And you can see here that I actually do bring it up pretty close to the castle walls, but I go ahead and kind of ease this back a little bit so we have a little bit more space in here in between the castle itself and the buildings, because we don't really want those to be connected too much. We want them to be related, but you can easily tell that they're different. Now, kind of moving around the back of this part, you can see here that we made those general guidelines for where people would be walking through consistently and constantly using our cobblestone here, but I actually like the idea of going ahead and bringing some houses forward, backwards, opening and closing off different areas for it, just so you can have more variety in the overall shape of it. I find the key to making really strong cities, castles, whatever you're working on, is having a bunch of variety in there. So you want to make sure that you have a bunch of different shapes and houses. You have a bunch of different palettes that you're using for the houses, but you want to make sure they're still connected. But you want to have a bunch of different styles and things like that. If you want to kind of see what I'm talking about, go check out the single player world I have, and go check out the city Port Latour that we've been building up over the last little while. There's a lot of variety in there in the houses themselves, but they clearly relate to being in the main city that they are a part of. All of the different builds I try and do, you can kind of see that general theme, where no two houses are literally carbon copies of each other, and no two houses probably use all of the exact same blocks. But with all of that, we always have some way of kind of connecting the builds together, but still having variety, because I think variety, especially in cities, because if you think about it, if it's a popular port city or whatever, a popular castle like this where it's out on the coast, there's going to be a lot of people from all over the world, all over the region that come to live here. So they'll bring their own goods with them. They'll bring their own type of stuff with them. They'll bring their own influences on the city. So it's okay to kind of stretch it a little bit, add some extra cool stuff in here, and just add a lot of variety. But anyways, this kind of here is what I see a lot of going throughout the entire world as just how to plan up the city. You can see here that we kind of broke it up into 3 different parts, starting with our big stone castle fortress up there on the hill, and then coming down here into this cool town area, which I thought was pretty cool. I'm going to leave a few links in the description for things that you guys can use as far as including different structures in your area. If you're ever like stuck on like, oh, I already have my blacksmith, my baker, etc. I have my windmill, what do I add now? I have a few lists that I go through that are like 400, 500 something medieval professions and structures that you could use as ideas for things that you might want to include inside of your own city. So I'll go ahead and leave those in the link down below in the description. Hope that you guys did enjoy and found this one pretty useful. We're going to go ahead and jump back here into the single player mode in just a quick sec as we finish up these last little bits of planning here. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this one. Super pumped about this. Had so much fun planning this out. It's really inspiring me to try and make something like this moving forwards. So we'll see. Alright guys, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode of building up this castle, which turned into from just building a castle up into building the town around it, as well as the town walls symbolized in our orange here, then our town buildings and structures and what you might be able to add here symbolized in the light blue wool. Thought that was very cool to be able to turn this whole island here from that little weird rinky-dinky castle we had here in the center into all of this. I really hope this was able to give you guys a little bit of perspective. As I mentioned during the replay recording, I will be leaving a link to a bunch of materials that I use to go through castle builds or whatever I'm planning a town, as far as like what type of professions, what type of buildings I'm trying to include in the town, whatever you might want to be including in your own village, your own build, whatever it might be, whatever style, age, era, whatever you're trying to symbolize. Maybe you're going for a futuristic. There's always types of professions and things that you need inside there. You need your scientists, you need your herbalists, you need the people who are growing the food, the botanists, etc., the medical people, the doctors, etc., all that good stuff. You always need all those different things. People generating your resources, people doing all that stuff. Outside of this town, however, you could easily go ahead, and I left it off right there for it to easily go ahead and throw a harbor in here as well. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this one. You know what? I'll go ahead and leave a download link in the description as well to this world now that I'm thinking about it. If anybody wants to go ahead and take these castle blueprints right here, what we're seeing with all this good stuff, and build upon them, you are more than welcome to. I did make this world in 1.12 so that we could use the replay mod to easily go through all this stuff, but it can be easily updated. It's a brand new fresh world. I just happened to find this thing right here. The world spawn was literally right there. So there isn't too much exploding here. Hopefully you guys do get something out of that one. Please hit that like button if you did enjoy. Hit that subscribe button if you are new, and I will catch you on the flip side.